Welcome to Nightfall Horror 002. Step into terrifying, true-style stories and subscribe now for more chilling tale. I didn't wake up because of a sound. That's the first thing that still bothers me about that night. Usually, when something pulls you out of sleep, there's a reason for it. A slammed car door outside, thunder, a nightmare, something. But when I opened my eyes that morning, it felt more like I had been removed from sleep rather than awakened naturally. 1 second I was dreaming, the next I was sitting upright in complete darkness. My name is Lena Mercer, and at the time I was living alone in a cheap ground-floor apartment on Sherman Street near the old industrial district outside Bloomfield. It wasn't a dangerous neighborhood, just forgotten. Rusted fences, empty warehouses, trucks rolling past at all hours. The kind of place where nobody asked questions if the power flickered or sirens echoed somewhere far away at 3 a.m. But that night wasn't normal. The first thing I noticed was the silence. Not quiet, silence. Total, unnatural silence. My ceiling fan had stopped spinning. The little hum I always slept to was gone. No traffic outside, no distant barking dogs, no pipes ticking in the walls. Even the old refrigerator in my kitchen, which constantly rattled like it was dying, had gone completely still. At first, I honestly thought I had gone deaf. I remember holding my breath just to test it. And that's when I heard it. Not outside, inside me. A faint pulse in my ears, slow and heavy, like blood moving underwater. That scared me more than any scream could have. I reached for my phone beside the bed, but before my fingers touched it, the screen suddenly lit up by itself, bright red. The sound that came from it made my entire body jerk backward. It wasn't an alarm. It sounded like corrupted static mixed with human screaming played through broken speakers underwater. Sharp, distorted, wrong. The screen displayed a message across the entire phone in blocky white text. Emergency alert. Remain indoors. Do not look outside. Do not use mirrors. Do not respond to unfamiliar voices. Stay low. Stay silent. There was no logo, no government seal, no way to close it. My thumb hovered over the screen while my chest tightened so hard it hurt to breathe. Then I noticed Milo and Crumb, my two gerbils sat completely frozen inside their cage near the dresser, not moving, not blinking, both staring directly toward my bedroom door. I whispered their names softly, trying to calm myself more than them. Neither reacted. And somehow, that terrified me more than the alert, because animals know things before people do. That's when I felt the cold. It rolled through the room slowly, not like winter air, but like something draining heat directly out of my skin. The hairs on my arms lifted instantly. I looked toward the hallway, and for the first time that night, I felt absolutely certain that something outside my apartment was listening. Not watching, listening. Then, somewhere near the kitchen window, I heard it. A slow scraping sound. Wet, deliberate, like something heavy being dragged across concrete, and it was getting closer.
The scraping stopped right outside my kitchen window. Not faded, not moved away, stopped. Like whatever had been dragging itself across the pavement suddenly realized I was awake. I stayed perfectly still on the edge of my bed, every muscle locked tight. My phone continued glowing red in my hand, painting the walls with that sick emergency light. The alert hadn't disappeared. Do not look outside. Most people would ignore that warning. I almost did. Every instinct in your brain screams to check the window when something is outside your home. Curiosity is automatic, human. But something about the way the alert was written made it feel less like advice and more like survival instructions from someone who had already seen what happens if you fail. The apartment felt colder by the second. I slowly slid off the bed and crouched low like the alert instructed. My bare feet touched the floor, and I nearly gasped. The wood felt freezing, like the heat had been sucked straight out of the building. Milo suddenly twitched inside the cage, then Crumb. The two gerbils scrambled backward together into the corner of their enclosure, trembling violently now instead of freezing. That's when I heard breathing outside the window. Slow, deep, wet. The scraping started again, closer this time, right against the wall beneath the kitchen sink. I backed toward my bedroom door carefully, trying not to make a sound, but my phone vibrated violently in my hand again. A second alert appeared beneath the first one. If you hear your name, do not respond. My stomach dropped instantly. Before I could even process the message, a voice whispered from somewhere outside the apartment. "Lena." My entire body went numb. It sounded exactly like my mother. Not similar, exact. Same tired softness in her voice, same gentle tone she used when waking me up for school as a kid. But my mother had died 3 years earlier. The whisper came again, closer. "Lena, open the door." I covered my mouth so fast my teeth cut into my palm. Every survival instinct I had screamed at me not to answer. The voice outside gave a small laugh. Not my mother's laugh. Something pretending to be her. The scraping resumed again, circling slowly around the side of the apartment like it was searching for another way in. Then every light outside flashed once through the blinds, just once. Even through the covered window, I saw the brightness cut across the room for a split second, and immediately after, screaming erupted somewhere outside the building. Not one person, several. The screams were cut short almost instantly. Then, silence returned. Complete, absolute. Like the world itself had swallowed them whole. I grabbed Milo and Crumb's travel carrier carefully with shaking hands and shoved them carefully inside while trying not to cry. They were panicking now, clawing frantically at the plastic walls. Animals always know first. I pulled on my jacket, keeping low to the ground exactly like the alert instructed. Another whisper slid through the darkness outside my apartment, this time directly beside the bedroom window. "Lena, I can see you." I didn't think any more after that. I ran, not toward the front door, toward the back hallway leading to the old utility room beneath the building, the one place with no windows. Behind me, the scraping sound suddenly sped up, and for the first time that night, I realized it wasn't dragging itself. It had too many limbs. I almost slipped, turning into the hallway. The floor tiles were freezing cold under my bare feet, slick with condensation that hadn't been there before. My shoulder slammed against the wall hard enough to rattle a picture frame loose, and the sound echoed through the apartment building like a gunshot. The scraping outside stopped immediately. My heart stopped with it. For one horrible second, everything became perfectly still again. Then I heard movement, fast, not walking, crawling. Something rushed across the exterior wall toward my apartment door with a speed that made my stomach twist. I clutched the gerbil carrier tighter against my chest and forced myself not to scream. The emergency exit light at the end of the hallway flickered weakly, casting long red shadows across the corridor. Every apartment door around me remained shut. No voices, no footsteps, no sounds from televisions or radios. It looked less like people were hiding and more like nobody had ever lived there at all. I kept moving, Slow, low, silent. The utility room sat near the back stairwell beside the maintenance closet. I still had the spare key from helping the landlord clear flood damage a few months earlier. My hands shook so badly I nearly dropped it trying to unlock the door. Behind me, somewhere back near my apartment, I heard my front doorknob begin to turn slowly, not rattling, turning, like someone politely trying to enter. The whisper returned again behind me. Lena. Closer now, inside the hallway. I forced the key into the lock and shoved the door open just enough to squeeze inside. The moment I slammed it shut behind me, something hit the other side softly. Not a bang, a gentle tap, like fingertips exploring the metal. I locked the deadbolt and backed away immediately. The utility room smelled like bleach, mildew, and wet concrete. Tiny shelves lined the walls, stacked with old paint cans and cleaning supplies. A single emergency bulb glowed dim yellow overhead, barely strong enough to push back the darkness. But at least there were no windows, no mirrors, no outside. I slid down against the wall, trying to steady my breathing, while Milo and Crumb scratched frantically inside the carrier. Then came the tapping again, 3 slow knocks against the metal door. Tap, tap, tap. I froze. A voice spoke from the hallway. Not my mother this time, a man's voice, old, weak. Please, let me in. I squeezed my eyes shut. The voice cracked like someone injured. I can't see. Please. Every instinct in me wanted to help. That's what terrified me most, because deep down, I already knew it wasn't human. The thing outside the door gave another weak knock, then another, then silence. Several long minutes passed before I realized something else. The emergency light above me was dimming, not flickering, dimming slowly, like something in the room was draining it. The temperature dropped so fast I could suddenly see my own breath. Milo began squealing inside the carrier. Crumb buried himself underneath the bedding completely. Then, from somewhere near the ceiling above me, I heard movement, a soft fluttering sound, like wet paper unfolding. Very slowly, directly over my head. I didn't look up immediately. Every nerve in my body wanted to, but something deeper, something animal, told me not to. The fluttering continued above me, slow, uneven, like enormous damp wings dragging across concrete. The emergency bulb dimmed further, turning the utility room into a sick yellow haze where the corners barely looked real anymore. Shadows stretched in impossible directions along the walls. I tightened my grip on the gerbil carrier so hard my knuckles started hurting. Then the smell arrived. Burned metal, rotting water, and underneath it, something sweet. The kind of sweetness you smell in hospitals right before someone dies. The fluttering stopped. Absolute silence filled the room again. That somehow felt worse. I kept staring straight ahead at the rusted mop sink across from me, trying not to move, trying not to breathe too loudly. Then I noticed something impossible. The reflection inside the metal sink was wrong. The room behind me looked darker in the reflection than it should have been, much darker, like the light wasn't reaching all the way back there. And slowly, something moved inside the reflection, not behind me, inside it. A shape unfolded upward in the curved metal basin, tall and distorted, like wet black fabric stretching toward the ceiling. I felt every muscle in my body lock instantly. The emergency alert flashed through my mind again. Do not use mirrors. I tore my eyes away from the sink so fast my neck hurt. The fluttering above me resumed immediately. Closer now, directly overhead.
Tiny particles drifted down from the ceiling onto my shoulder, black dust mixed with something sticky. Milo began screaming inside the carrier, not squeaking, screaming. I slapped my hand over the cage instinctively, terrified the noise would carry. The fluttering stopped again. Then came the breathing, right above me. Slow inhale, slow exhale. The sound vibrated through the ceiling pipes. My chest tightened so badly I thought I might pass out. I couldn't understand how something that large could move without footsteps. Whatever was above me wasn't walking. It was hanging there, watching, listening, waiting. The bulb overhead suddenly flickered once, and in that brief pulse of brighter light, I saw a shadow move across the ceiling. Not human-shaped, too long, too many angles. It looked almost folded wrong, like limbs bending in directions they shouldn't. The light dimmed immediately afterward. I bit down hard on my sleeve to stop myself from making a sound. Outside the utility room, somewhere deeper in the apartment building, a door slammed violently, then another, then screaming erupted upstairs, several voices at once, panicked, confused. One of them shouted something I couldn't fully hear before the scream abruptly cut off mid-sentence. Silence returned instantly, not fading silence, instant silence, as if the sound had been erased. The thing above me shifted. I heard a wet clicking noise, then another, like bones tapping together underwater, and suddenly my own voice whispered from the sink behind me. "Lena." I nearly cried out. It sounded exactly like me. Not imitation, not close, perfect. The voice whispered again. "You looked." The breathing above me stopped completely, and something began unfolding from the ceiling.
The sound it made coming down from the ceiling is something I still hear in nightmares. Not footsteps, not claws. It sounded like wet cloth slowly peeling away from concrete. I pressed myself deeper into the corner of the utility room, every muscle locked so tight it hurt. The emergency bulb overhead barely glowed now, just enough light to reveal shapes without fully showing them. And somehow, that made everything worse, because my brain kept trying to complete what my eyes couldn't. The thing above me moved carefully, deliberately, like it already knew exactly where I was. The metal sink behind me trembled softly. My own voice whispered from it again. "Lena, look at me." I shut my eyes instantly. The alert wasn't warning people about reflections themselves. It was warning us about what used them. The temperature dropped so hard my teeth started chattering uncontrollably. Frost spread slowly across the concrete floor beneath the mop sink in thin spiderweb patterns. Milo and Crumb were losing their minds inside the carrier now, clawing and squealing non-stop. Then suddenly, they went silent. Complete silence. The kind only prey animals make when they know the predator is directly above them. The wet clicking sound moved across the ceiling, closer, closer, until it was directly over me. I could feel pressure pushing down on my head like deep water. And then a single drop of liquid landed on my shoulder. Warm. I nearly screamed. Every instinct begged me to run, but there was nowhere to go. The utility room suddenly felt impossibly small, like the walls themselves had shifted inward while I wasn't looking. The voice from the sink spoke again, only this time it wasn't my voice anymore. It was dozens, layered together. Men, women, children, all whispering the same sentence at once. "Let it see you." I buried my face against my knees, trembling so violently I thought I might black out. Then the emergency bulb died completely. Darkness swallowed everything. Not normal darkness, real darkness, the kind where your eyes stop understanding space. And inside that darkness, something unfolded beside me. I heard joints cracking softly, a long inhale, then a face appeared inches from mine. Not fully visible, just pieces of it, too pale, too smooth. Its skin shimmered strangely like oil floating on black water, constantly shifting shape every time my eyes tried focusing on it. And its eyes, God, its eyes looked human for half a second before becoming something else entirely. Too deep, too empty, like holes cut into reality itself. It tilted its head slowly at me, curious, studying me. Then it smiled, using far too many teeth. My entire body locked up. I couldn't breathe, couldn't move, couldn't even blink. The thing leaned closer until icy air brushed against my face. And then, somewhere outside the building, a loud metallic tone echoed across the street. The creature froze instantly. The pressure in the room changed. The creature turned its head sharply toward the sound outside, like an animal hearing a distant gunshot. Another metallic tone rang out, longer this time. The creature unfolded upward violently, retreating back into the darkness near the ceiling with horrifying speed. The cold lifted almost immediately afterward. The suffocating pressure vanished, and for the first time in hours, I could breathe again. Outside, faintly, I heard engines, doors slamming, people shouting through megaphones somewhere down the street. Then my phone suddenly turned back on inside my jacket pocket. A final alert illuminated the darkness in deep red. Primary event subsiding. Remain indoors until 7 a.m. Do not acknowledge unfamiliar voices. Cleanup is underway. And underneath the message, for just a split second, another line appeared before the screen shut off forever. Total survivors, unknown.
This is where the real horror begins. And trust me, what happens next, you won't forget. If you're enjoying this, hit subscribe to Nightfall Horror 002, because something even more terrifying is coming.
I stayed in that utility room until the clock on my wristwatch hit 7:03 a.m. Not because I trusted the alert, because I was too terrified to move before then. The darkness inside the room had changed after the thing left. It no longer felt alive. The suffocating pressure was gone, replaced by a cold stillness that felt almost normal compared to what came before. Almost. Milo and Crumb slowly started moving again inside their carrier, tiny scratching sounds, nervous shifting. Alive. That was the first thing that convinced me the creature was truly gone. The second was the smell. That awful burnt metal odor had faded completely. I waited another few minutes anyway, sitting perfectly still, listening for breathing above me or whispers from the sink. Nothing came. Finally, I unlocked the utility room door. The hallway outside looked wrong. Not destroyed, just emptied. The emergency lights along the corridor glowed faint orange now instead of red. Every apartment door stood slightly open, like people had left in a hurry, or someone had checked each room one by one. A thin layer of gray dust covered the floor tiles. My bare footprints became visible as soon as I stepped into it. I remember staring at those footprints because they grounded me for a second. They proved I was still real, still human. Somewhere upstairs, water dripped slowly through pipes. That was the first ordinary sound I'd heard all night. I moved carefully back toward my apartment, keeping my eyes away from windows and reflective surfaces out of pure instinct now. The silence outside had changed, too. I could hear distant engines,
Radios, voices, very far away, but the building itself remained dead quiet. When I reached my apartment door, I noticed scratch marks around the frame, deep grooves carved into the wood. Not random scratches, long vertical marks, almost parallel, like several sharp fingers had dragged slowly downward, searching for a way inside. My stomach tightened immediately. Something had absolutely been trying to get in. I pushed the door open carefully. The apartment looked untouched at first glance. Furniture still in place, no broken windows, no signs of forced entry. But the air inside felt stale, like the room had been sealed for years instead of hours. Milo and Crumbs started squeaking nervously again as soon as I crossed the threshold. That scared me immediately. Animals don't panic without reason. I stepped farther inside slowly, then froze. The blinds covering my living room window were open. I knew for a fact they had been closed earlier. Every single one now hung crooked toward the glass, like someone had pulled them apart carefully from the inside. Beyond the window, morning light spilled across the parking lot outside. Gray, foggy, empty. At first, everything looked normal. Then, I noticed the cars. Every vehicle parked outside had its windows shattered outward. Not inward, outward. Like something exploded from inside them. I stared at the parking lot, trying to understand what I was seeing, when movement caught my eye near the curb. Someone was standing there. A man, perfectly still, facing my apartment window. Too far away to see clearly through the fog, but something about him felt wrong instantly. His posture, too stiff. His arms hung strangely low at his sides, and even from that distance, I could tell he wasn't blinking. Then, slowly, the man lifted one arm and pointed directly at me. Milo shrieked inside the carrier, and my phone buzzed one final time. A new alert appeared across the screen. Do not let them know you saw them. The man outside smiled, far too wide. I dropped to the floor instantly. The phone nearly slipped from my hand as I crawled backward away from the window, heart hammering so hard it made my vision pulse. Milo and Crumbs scratched wildly inside the carrier beside me. I didn't look back outside. I couldn't. The alert's wording terrified me more than the thing itself. Do not let them know you saw them. Not it. Them. There was more than one. A sudden pounding erupted somewhere down the hallway outside my apartment. Doors opening, people shouting, real human voices this time. I grabbed the carrier and rushed quietly toward my bedroom, staying low like the alerts kept instructing. A woman screamed somewhere nearby. Then a man yelled, "Don't look at them!" The scream cut off instantly afterward. Silence swallowed the building again. I crouched beside my bed, clutching the carrier against my chest while trying to slow my breathing. Then came 3 knocks at my apartment door. Calm, measured. Knock, knock, knock. A male voice spoke from outside. "Bloomfield Emergency Response. We're conducting survivor checks." I stared toward the front hallway without moving. The voice sounded normal, professional, but after everything that had happened, I no longer trusted normal. The man knocked again. "If anyone is inside, please respond." Milo started trembling violently again. That answered my question before I even thought it through. I stayed silent. Several long seconds passed. Then the voice outside changed. Not gradually, instantly. The tone became lower, wet, distorted. "If anyone is inside, A horrible scraping noise dragged across my front door. We already know. Every hair on my body stood straight up. Something slammed hard against the apartment next door. Glass shattered. A woman screamed so loudly it echoed through the entire building. Then came the sound of movement. Fast, crawling movement across the ceiling outside my bedroom. The same sound I'd heard in the utility room. There were multiple creatures inside the building now. I backed deeper into the bedroom corner while covering my mouth to stop myself from crying. Outside in the hallway, people started running. Real panic this time. Footsteps thundered through the corridor, followed by gunshots. 3 quick shots, then silence. Not because the threat ended, because whoever fired had stopped existing. The apartment building groaned softly around me, like metal under pressure. And then the power returned. Every light in my apartment exploded on at once. The lamp, kitchen light, bathroom light, even the television suddenly flickered alive in the living room. Static filled the apartment instantly, loud, violent. The TV screen glowed white through the bedroom doorway. My phone buzzed frantically again. New directive: do not use audio devices. Do not respond to broadcasts. The TV static abruptly stopped. A woman appeared on the screen. Not a news anchor, not exactly human either. She smiled directly into the camera with frozen, unnatural stillness. Her face kept subtly changing every few seconds. Different eyes, different mouth, different skin, like multiple people trying to wear the same face. Then she spoke using dozens of overlapping voices. "Thank you for staying indoors." The lights in my apartment flickered violently. The woman on the TV tilted her head slightly and stared directly toward my bedroom doorway, toward me. Then she smiled wider. "We can see you now." The television went black. Not static, not signal loss, just instant blackness, like the screen itself had died. But I still felt something watching from inside it. I stayed frozen beside the bed, barely breathing. The apartment lights flickered overhead in uneven pulses now, each flash lasting a little too long before dimming again. Milo and Crumb pressed themselves flat against the bottom of the carrier. The hallway outside erupted with movement again. People were running, crying. One man kept shouting, "Don't answer the doors! Don't answer the—" His voice cut off violently. Then came the sound of wet dragging across the ceiling directly above my apartment. Multiple things moving at once, fast. I covered my ears instinctively as whispers suddenly filled the building from every direction. Not loud, close, like people murmuring directly beside my head. Some voices begged for help, some laughed softly. Others simply repeated names over and over. I heard my own name at least 3 times. Then my mother's voice returned. "Lena, sweetheart, please look at me." Tears burned my eyes instantly. It didn't matter that I knew it wasn't real. Part of me still wanted it to be. The whispers grew louder near the bedroom doorway, and then something stepped into the hall outside my room. I couldn't see it fully from where I crouched, only pieces of movement crossing through the flickering light. Long limbs, too thin, bent wrong. Its shadow stretched across the wall in impossible directions, like several bodies overlapping together. The creature stopped outside the doorway, listening. The apartment became completely silent again. No voices, no movement upstairs, no TVs, nothing. The thing tilted its head slowly toward my bedroom, and suddenly all the electronics inside the apartment turned on at once. My microwave beeped from the kitchen, the bathroom fan roared alive, the television flashed white again. My phone started ringing, not vibrating, ringing. An incoming call from Mom. I nearly screamed. The creature outside the doorway twitched violently the moment the phone rang. Its head snapped toward the sound instantly. That's how it hunted. Not sight, not smell, sound. I grabbed the phone before the second ring could finish and shoved it under a pillow to muffle it. But the damage was already done. The creature turned slowly toward me. Even in the flickering darkness, I could feel it focusing directly on my position. Then every joint in its body cracked loudly, one after another. Its arms unfolded downward until its fingers touched the carpet. Far too long, far too many joints. And then it crawled into the bedroom, ceiling first, like gravity meant nothing to it. I bit down hard on my own hand to stop myself from making noise. The creature moved silently now above me, clinging upside down on the ceiling. Its skin shimmered strangely under the flashing lights, almost transparent in places. I could see shapes moving inside it. Faces, human faces pressing faintly beneath the surface like trapped reflections underwater. The phone under the pillow rang again. Mom calling. The creature froze directly overhead. Slowly, very slowly, it began lowering its face toward mine. And this time, I saw its eyes clearly. They weren't black, they were mirrors.
The moment I saw the eyes, I understood what the alert really meant. Not metaphorically, not symbolically, literally. They were mirrors, and in them I wasn't reflected the way I should have been. I was delayed, a fraction of a second behind my own movements, like my image was thinking after I did. The creature hovered above me, upside down on the ceiling, completely still except for the slow shifting of its head. The phone under my pillow rang again. Mom calling. The sound was muffled, but it was enough. The creature reacted instantly. Its body convulsed in a sharp, unnatural twitch, like the ringtone had physically hurt it. Then it began lowering itself toward me, not crawling, dropping, like gravity had finally decided to start working again. I pressed myself into the corner of the bed frame, trying not to breathe too loudly. Milo and Crumb were completely silent now. That silence was worse than panic, because it meant they had stopped reacting altogether, like they were bracing for the end. The creature's face came closer. The mirror eyes reflected the room, but wrong. In them, the apartment wasn't empty. It was full of standing shapes, watching me. But when I looked directly at the room, nothing was there. Only the reflection showed them. That's when I realized something terrifying. They were already here. I just couldn't perceive them without the reflection. The creature tilted its head, studying me like I was a problem it was solving slowly. Then it spoke, but not with a mouth. The sound came from everywhere at once, from the walls, from the floor, from inside my own teeth. Why do you hide your sound? The lights in the apartment flickered violently again. Every electronic device screamed at once. The TV in the living room burst back to life with pure static. The refrigerator started humming like a dying engine, and the phone under my pillow answered itself. A voice came through, calm, familiar, my mother's voice again, but this time it didn't ask me to open the door. It said something far worse. She already saw you. The creature above me paused, then slowly smiled, and the smile wasn't visible in its face. It appeared in the reflection of its eyes, first behind me, inside the mirror world. All
all the shapes in the room moved one step closer. I felt something breathe directly into my ear, not from the creature above me, but from behind me, where nothing should have been. The whisper returned, softer than before. "Lena, don't turn around." And for the first time since this started, I wasn't sure which voice was trying to save me and which one already owned me.
I didn't turn around. That was the only decision I made that night that felt like it came from something deeper than fear. The whisper behind me stayed close enough that I could feel it move through my hair when it spoke again. Good. The creature above me stopped smiling. Or at least, I stopped seeing the smile, because the reflection in its eyes changed. The room behind me, whatever was there, shifted again in those mirrored surfaces. The shapes became clearer, no longer just silhouettes. They looked like people, standing too still, watching too closely. But I still didn't turn. The creature slowly lowered itself closer until its face was almost level with mine. The smell returned. Burnt metal, wet stone, something sweet rotting underneath. It studied me like I was a closed door it was trying to understand. Then it tilted its head and spoke again. This time, the voice came out of the TV in the living room instead of the creature itself. "We were not supposed to wake you this early." The television flickered violently, showing frames of empty streets, then crowded hallways, then complete darkness between each image, like something was cycling through failed realities. My phone buzzed again under the pillow. A new message appeared without sound. "Do not trust the reflections." I laughed once, quiet, broken, because the warning came too late to be helpful. The creature above me reacted to the sound. Its body stiffened. All movement in the apartment stopped at once. Even the distant chaos in the hallway outside disappeared. Absolute silence returned. Then the lights shut off again, all of them. But the darkness didn't last, because the mirror eyes began to glow faintly. And in that glow, the reflection world expanded. The shapes behind me in the reflection stepped forward again, closer, more defined. One of them looked exactly like me, but wrong. Too still, too aware. It raised its hand in the reflection and waved. My real body froze completely. The creature above me leaned in and whispered something directly into my skull. "You are the opening." Behind me, the whisper returned, but louder now. "Turn around." The two voices overlapped, one inside me, one outside me. And for the first time, I realized something even worse than everything before it. Neither of them needed me alive. They just needed me to acknowledge which world was real. Because the moment I chose wrong, I would become part of it.
Before you leave, one question. Are you sure no one is behind you? If you liked this feeling, subscribe to Nightfall Horrors 002 and stay with Nahid Hassan, because the horror doesn't end here. The moment I finally turned my head, the world didn't change. It split, like a thin layer of glass cracking over everything I had ever trusted to be real. The bedroom was still there. Bed, walls, dim shapes, but now it felt slightly misaligned, as if it had been copied and pasted back into place by something that didn't fully understand geometry. Behind me, the reflection world was no longer just inside the mirror. It was overlapping with mine. I could see myself sitting where I had been, but also standing behind that version of me, and also watching both of them from somewhere else entirely. My mind struggled to hold all three perspectives at once. The creature above me reacted violently the moment I turned. Its mirror eyes widened, not in shock, in recognition, like I had just confirmed something it already suspected. The TV in the living room turned itself back on. No static this time, just a single word: connected. My phone under the pillow went completely silent. No calls, no alerts, like it had stopped participating in whatever system it belonged to. Then the voice that had been pretending to be my mother spoke again, but now it wasn't coming from one place. It came from all directions at once, from the ceiling, from the floor, from the reflection behind me, from inside the glass of the window I had never dared to approach. "Good," it said softly. "Now you can see us properly." The figures in the reflection world took another step forward, and this time they crossed something they weren't supposed to, a boundary. One of them, my reflection self, pressed its hand against the invisible barrier between the worlds, and it moved through, not breaking anything, not tearing, just passing, like it had always been allowed to. I felt a pressure behind my own chest immediately, as if something inside me was trying to copy the motion. The creature above me started retracting upward slowly, not escaping, observing, waiting, as if this was the moment it had been waiting for all night. My reflection self now stood partially in my world, half of it still inside the mirror space, half of it here. It smiled at me, exactly like me, but the timing was wrong, a fraction too early, like it knew what I was going to do before I did it. Then it spoke, and this time it used my voice correctly. "Don't fight it." My real body couldn't move properly anymore. My arms felt disconnected, like they belonged to someone else learning how to operate them. The room began to feel less like a place and more like a decision, a choice being forced into shape. Behind me, something whispered directly in my ear one last time, not a command, a warning. "You already turned." And in that instant, I realized the worst part wasn't the creatures or the reflections or the alert. It was the fact that I could no longer tell which version of me had made the choice. For a moment after the whisper, nothing moved. Not because the danger was gone, but because it was deciding what I had become. The reflection of me stood only a few feet away now, fully separated from the mirror world. Its presence felt wrong in a way that didn't trigger fear first, but confusion, like my brain was trying to reject the idea that I could be duplicated so cleanly. It blinked. I blinked, but the timing still didn't match. The creature on the ceiling slowly pulled itself backward, retreating into the upper corners of the room, as if it no longer needed to intervene directly. Its mirror eye stayed fixed on both of us, observing, evaluating, waiting for the outcome. Then the apartment lights flickered back on, but weaker this time, as if the building itself was running on borrowed attention. The TV turned on again without a sound. This time it showed a single corridor, endless, familiar, My own apartment hallway, repeating again and again like a looping memory that couldn't resolve. And inside that hallway, people were standing. Still figures, all facing inward, all waiting. The reflection of me took a step closer. I tried to move back instinctively, but my body didn't respond the way it should have. It felt delayed again, like my nervous system was no longer synced to reality. My reflection tilted its head. "Do you feel it?" it asked softly. Its voice didn't echo, it layered, like it was speaking through multiple versions of my own throat at once. The air in the room tightened. The smell of wet metal returned faintly, not strong like before, but present enough to remind me it could come back any time. Behind me, something else shifted. Not the creature, something in the apartment itself. The walls, the corners, like the building had begun listening more closely than it should. My reflection raised its hand and pointed toward my chest, and for the first time I felt something inside me respond, a faint vibration, like a second heartbeat trying to sync with the first. The reflection smiled. "Good," it said, "you're stabilizing." That word didn't belong in anything natural. Stabilizing, like I was a signal or a frequency or something being tuned. The creature on the ceiling finally spoke again, but not through sound. This time the words formed directly in my thoughts. Subject coherence increasing. My vision blurred for a second. Not darkness, overlay. Two rooms at once, two versions of me at once, and in both versions the reflection self took another step forward, now standing almost face to face with me. It leaned in slightly and whispered something only I was meant to hear. "We don't replace you quickly. We merge you slowly." And in that moment, I understood what cleanup really meant. Not removal, not rescue, but integration. The word merge didn't feel like language anymore. It felt like a process already happening inside my body. My reflection self stood so close now that I could see the smallest imperfections in its face, slight mismatches in skin tone, micro delays in blinking, a faint lag in expression that made it feel like it was always half a second behind reality, trying to catch up. And yet, it was me, or something built from me. The apartment lights dimmed again, not fully shutting off this time, just lowering into a sick, unstable glow that made everything look underwater. The TV in the living room continued looping the hallway, but now the figures inside it were moving, slowly, synchronizing. The creature on the ceiling had stopped pretending to hide. It hung there openly now, upside down, like a supervisor watching an experiment reach its critical phase. Its mirror eyes reflected not just the room, but timelines, different versions of this exact moment, repeating slightly out of phase. My reflection self lifted its hand and placed it gently against my chest. I felt it immediately, not pressure, alignment, like something inside me had been waiting for that exact contact point. My heartbeat stuttered, then doubled. One rhythm mine, one not mine. I gasped and stumbled backward, but my real body still didn't fully obey me. It moved like a delayed echo of intention. The reflection didn't move at all. It simply watched me struggle, and then spoke calmly. "You're resisting out of habit." The words weren't cruel. They were clinical, like a doctor explaining something already decided. Behind me, the whisper returned again, but softer now, not commanding, informing. You are already half through. I turned my head slightly without meaning to, and saw it. The edge between worlds was no longer behind me. It was everywhere. The walls had become thin membranes, slightly translucent in places, showing faint outlines of other versions of the room, overlapping like stacked film frames. In one layer, I was standing. In another, I was sitting. In another, I wasn't there at all. The reflection self leaned closer. This is the stable state, it said. No more missing time, no more silence gaps, no more uncertainty. My chest tightened as the word silence triggered a memory of that first moment, waking in absolute quiet, before anything had begun, before the rules, before the alert, before the voices learned my name. The creature on the ceiling suddenly shifted, all at once. Its mirror eyes brightened, and it spoke aloud for the first time instead of inside my head. The host is recognizing baseline memory. The room reacted immediately. The air thickened, the lights flickered violently, and every reflective surface in the apartment, TV screen, microwave, even the glass of the fridge, began showing me slightly different versions of myself, all waking up, all at different times, all slightly wrong. My reflection self smiled again. Almost synchronized, it said. And then it added, almost gently, "Don't worry. The worst part is not losing yourself. It's realizing there was never only one to begin with."
After that sentence, the apartment stopped feeling like a place. It became a system. Every surface, every shadow, every flickering light felt like it was waiting for input, like I was no longer inside a home, but inside something that was actively trying to resolve me into a final state. My reflection self stood motionless now, as if it didn't need to move anymore to influence me. Its presence alone was enough. The closer I tried to think independently, the more my thoughts started echoing back slightly altered, like someone repeating them one room over. The creature on the ceiling slowly rotated, still upside down, its mirror eyes tracking both versions of me without preference. Then the TV changed again. No hallway this time, no static, just a live feed of the apartment itself, from a perspective that wasn't mine. I was seeing myself from the corner of the ceiling, watching myself, and in that feed there were more of me than there should have been. Not copies exactly, variations, small differences. One where I was standing calmly, one where I was already gone, one where I was speaking to something I couldn't see. My breathing became uneven, and instantly every version on the TV synchronized that same irregular breath. The reflection self tilted its head slightly. "You are resisting fragmentation," it said softly. Behind me, the whisper returned, but weaker now, almost tired. "You are not supposed to hold one version for this long." The word hold made my arms feel heavier, like I was physically gripping something invisible inside my own skull. The lights in the apartment dimmed further, sinking into a low amber glow that made everything feel like it was being remembered instead of experienced. The creature on the ceiling finally moved again, slowly descending, not toward me, toward the reflection self. And for the first time, I noticed something important. It wasn't choosing between us. It was aligning us.
The reflection self took one step closer and spoke in a quieter voice than before. "You are stabilizing incorrectly." My chest tightened instantly. That word again, incorrectly, as if I had failed a configuration I didn't know I was part of. The lights in the apartment, all of them, suddenly showed the same image, me, standing in the exact center of the room. But I wasn't doing anything I was doing. In one reflection, I was calm. In another, I was smiling slightly. In another, I was already turning my head towards something behind me that I refused to acknowledge. And then the reflection self raised its hand and pointed not at me, but at the space directly between us. The merge point is opening. The air in that space shimmered, not like heat, like reality losing agreement with itself. I felt something inside me stretch, not painful, but unavoidable, like being pulled toward a version of myself that had already finished this moment. And in that stretching silence, the creature finally spoke one last time, not to me, not to it, but to the space between us. Synchronization threshold reached. Everything paused, even thought, and then the reflection self stepped forward into me.
There was no impact, no collision, no pain. Just a moment where everything I was became undecided. Like a photograph being exposed twice at the exact same time. I remember standing in the center of my apartment, but I also remember not standing at all. I remember my reflection self inside me, but I also remember being inside it. And I remember something worse than both. The realization that neither version felt wrong anymore. The room stopped flickering. The lights stabilized into a cold, even brightness that felt artificial, like daylight manufactured for inspection rather than comfort. The creature that had been on the ceiling was no longer visible in any single place. Instead, I could perceive it across multiple angles at once, as if it had become part of the structure of the room itself rather than an occupant of it. The TV turned on one final time. No images, no sound, just text. Merge complete. My phone, sitting on the bed, powered on automatically, but it didn't show alerts anymore. It showed diagnostics, lines of integrity, stable, subject ID, Lena Mercer, state, continuous. I stared at that last word, continuous. My breathing felt normal, too normal, like it had been adjusted to match something else. I walked toward the kitchen without thinking, and my reflection in the microwave followed me perfectly in sync. No delay, no mismatch, no second version lagging behind. But when I looked closer, there was no longer a separation between me and the reflection. Just one unified movement, one unified presence. The sink no longer showed anything strange. It showed only me. And for a brief moment, I almost believed everything was over. Then, the apartment door clicked. Not opening, locking from the outside. A voice spoke through it, calm, professional, distant. "Cleanup unit confirming stabilization." Another voice answered faintly over a radio. "Subject retained." I stopped breathing because I realized something I hadn't understood before. The emergency alert wasn't a warning about survival. It was a status update. I wasn't being protected from something outside. I was being contained for something inside. The lights in the apartment dimmed slightly again, as if acknowledging the next phase. And right before everything went quiet,
My phone displayed one final line that wasn't there before. "Welcome back, Lena." And beneath it, "Do not resist next cycle." The screen turned black, but I could still feel it watching, still listening, still waiting. Not for an ending, but for the next time I wake up.
This video is over, but the story isn't. Because Nahid Hassan was never found. And if your phone turns on by itself tonight, just know you've been chosen. Subscribe to Nightfall Horrors 002 because you're not safe anymore.